Alright, here I am. Rock you like a hurricane. Bum, 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 bum. Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Smirking Gun. Tonight, I'm recording this as we're about to start playing Baldur's Gate 3's co-op, Campaign 3 co-op, The Darkest Timeline, where we're killing everybody, going full baddie. We killed dogs, people. I tried to kill kids. But before that, I decided that I wanted to do something a little different here, because I was talking to a longtime suffering subscriber named EB, and he was talking about the channel and what was I doing with it, and like I felt like I can take this stuff really personally, like my content and what I'm doing on my channel and stuff, and why I'm not doing something or why am I doing something and stuff. And I take I take a lot of shit personally. It's a fault. It's a character flaw. But as I was thinking about it, it's like, yeah, like I wasn't going to talk about this show, The Penguin, but I thought like my attitude was a little bit off about it. And I realized, I was like, no, man, like,
do not look at me like that.
like, I still want to talk about stuff the same way I used to. I just have so much more going on that it's shows and movies have kind of been pushed to the side where I'm just not as excited or as invested as hard as I was. I still love watching it and I still love talking about stuff. It's just hard to find the time anymore because I've had a lot more responsibility thrust upon me, and some of it's life and some of it's work. And to be more successful at those things, the hobby that I wish was my career, that's YouTube. It just, unfortunately, that just has to take a back seat. But EB had a point that, like, that I didn't feel as invested in a lot of stuff, especially a lot of new stuff. I am more interested in talking about old stuff now. Because I'm kind of tired of the whole way everything's been done. I've been talking about the end of streaming since before it even got like as big as it did, because you could just tell the direction it was going was just going to start to implode. And now there's just so many shows and so many services and everything else that you're paying as much as cable had you before, even in some cases more. And there's just so much being thrown at us that it's hard to find good shows between the bad shows. You just miss stuff. Things get canceled right after they get brought out. A lot of shows have just been disappointing as far as the way that they, the production and the writing. There's been some problems, just quality alone across the board on everybody. Streaming services like Max especially was like, I wasn't gonna like as interested as I might be in the Penguin. Max's streaming service and Warner Brothers and all that, it's just the way that they've been doing things. I just don't give a shit. And that's kind of like, it was like it kind of just tossed onto the show. I was like, man, the Penguin would be great if I didn't have to watch it on Max. And I think we say that about a lot of shows. Man, I'd really, because as bad as some of these shows might be, I was curious to check some of them out, but I just, like, do I really want to get Peacock so I can watch Twisted Metal to find out if it's any good at all? Not really. So I just go, well, I didn't have Twisted Metal before. Maybe it sucks. Maybe it's the best show on earth. But I'm not going to find out until, I can find somewhere to watch it before. I'm just not going to do it. And it just makes it harder to even want to talk about stuff. Or what am I supposed to be talking about? I was enjoying myself on Netflix for a while when I first started back up, and I was devouring some stuff that I'd been meaning to, talk about. It doesn't hurt when a lot of that stuff's Mike Flanagan. But just bouncing around from thing to thing and realizing that, do I even give a shit about the Rings of Power? No, not really. I don't have one way or another to feel about it. It's just like, I'll watch it, I guess, sometime, but I'm not that invested in it. Same thing that happened a little bit with Wheel of Time, which is really more disappointing to me. Is that I really like I read the book, the first book, and I really liked it, and I kind of liked some of the first season. I think I liked most of it. I was having a hard time like with the like just reading the book and having everything fresh in my mind and wishing that I had seen a lot more of what was in the book in the show. But like that's just kind of what goes from whenever you adapt something. Um, and so it's like if this wasn't on a free trial through Prime, because I was just fiddling around through looking for something to do. I was like, do I want to play a game before I play Baldur's Gate tonight? And I was like, nah. And I mean, this is how like indifferent I almost am to the whole thing now.
Do not look at me like that.
And I found Penguin and it was like, oh, hey, it's on Max, it's locked out. But I went in there anyway to just go, maybe they're going to give me the first episode free. They sometimes do that. But it wasn't. But there was the free trial. And I even rolled the dice and said, well, sometimes you have those free trials already used up and then they charge you immediately for the service without saying, are you sure? Because you don't get the trial. They don't always tell you you're not going to get the trial before they charge you. So I rolled the dice tonight and said, okay, let's see if we can get this free trial, and I'll watch the first episode of Penguin. Not even thinking it was going to be much. I was looking at the clock going, yeah, I got plenty of time like before I play Baldur's Gate. If it sucks, I can just turn it off. And it really doesn't help. Again, I'm not going to get a full season. Like, if I don't get to see the rest of this show, it's kind of... I almost would rather pay for it episode to episode than just get Max. I really would. And I was, like, happy with that anyway. Nothing really going for it. And my attitude was kind of reflected in my excitement to see this show, because it's just kind of like, okay, it's the Penguin. Yeah, I liked Colin Farrell in it. I thought that he was probably the best thing about the Batman to me. And so there was curiosity there, but again, nothing like, oh, it's on HBO Max. I'm not running out to get Max to watch the Penguin. But I kind of wish that I had a different attitude about that, because the Penguin is actually a really, really good show. And it is everything that I wanted the Penguin on Gotham to be. And I've said this before. I've made this comparison to the Batman Cape Crusader show, where I was like, the GCPD on that show and how they're doing it, that's what I wanted Gotham to be. Instead, they went all campy and shit. Which you can go a little campy, but just, rein it in a little bit. They went too far. It was like, I don't know. It's unique, I'll give it that. And I don't want to throw any shade at the actor who played the Penguin on Gotham, because actually, I mean, he was giving it his all, motherfucker. Like, he was probably, again, one of the best things about that show. Even though I just kind of found the whole thing awful. But this is definitely that. And the reason the thumbnail says better than the Batman is because to me it is. I've seen Batman in so many different iterations since I first turned on the TV and saw Adam West running around in his skivvies with Dick Ward. Was that his name? Because now that I say it, it sounds like I'm just saying a porno name. Dick Ward. And I've read so many comics and so many different versions of Batman that even though I really like Matt Reeves as a director, and I think that he took the Planet of the Apes concept and like really just did something that is like, I don't even know how to really describe how like weirdly just epically good it is. And it's way better than it has any right to be. But the Batman movie just didn't do it for me. I didn't like the Riddler. I Robert Pattinson, I think that he is way better than the sum of his past. He is an incredible actor, but I just didn't like his Bruce Wayne. I didn't like his Batman. I liked the suit. I didn't really... Catwoman, I mean, it's... Look, I'm going to be a guy here and say it was Zoe Kravitz. I don't really care how great the acting was in this situation. No, but she had the physicality and all that shit down too, so I can't be like, she's just eye candy. But it was, and of course you've got people, oh god, why am I blanking on, dude who played the higher up mob boss guy, John Turturro is in that. But it really was Colin Farrell who stole, I was like, yeah, this guy is pretty much how I've always wanted to see Penguin, minus the top hat and tails. But he also didn't, there was a bit missing from the physicality, a bit missing from, I think, the face, how I saw him. But this show, I don't know, maybe I just haven't really watched the Batman in a long time, but I really liked how he looked in this more than what I remember from that movie. I kind of could still see Colin Farrell in that first Batman movie. In this, I don't see anybody. I just see the Penguin. I don't see anybody else. And like I was saying, I've seen all these other things, but one of the things that I have not seen is the rise to power of this, and that's why I said, this is what I wanted from Gotham, was to show the rise of Penguin and Riddler and all these characters, and do it well, and do it right. And they could have, but they didn't. And so, well, in my opinion, they didn't. If you think it was fantastic, and I'm totally wrong, you're, more than... like what you like, man. And there were times in Gotham that I actually enjoyed. I can't lie. But this is just far superior. But yeah, this is the kind of story that I've always wanted to see about, the Penguin. I haven't seen this before. I've always seen him as, well, okay, Danny DeVito. What Danny DeVito did was almost like Andy Kaufman, if Andy Kaufman was the Penguin, in my opinion, almost like performance art. Because it's just so out there. And Burgess Meredith, he was the campy version, even though it's pretty dope. The rock, just going for it in that way too, pretty awesome. Which I like that they still kind of maintained through some of the Batman the Animated Series. But this is really comic book Penguin to me. Minus the whole backstory, you lose the backstory of the Cobblepots, whatever. And in this, it's immediately pretty much after the events of the Batman. And I wasn't at first sitting there enjoying myself. Because I was determined to be I don't care. And I still I don't care like everybody that's I care so fucking much about this. I care enough that I'm happy to watch it every week if I can. I'm excited to see the next episode, and I'm hoping that they'll carry that forward. That's where I'm at with it. Outside, and we'll get to all the specifics here in a second. And there's going to be some minor, there's going to be some spoilers, a big spoiler up front, so be warned if you don't want to hear what happens. But it's, right from jump. And I also want to talk about, really quickly, director Craig Zobel, who directed The Hunt, and Compliance. I saw Compliance too, which I can kind of see the influences in how he shoots things or how he sees things. The Hunt is a whole other thing, so I don't really have much of a comparison to this. But then Lauren, I think her name is Lauren LaFranc, she wrote for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so I'm already okay, you've got me. At least the director and writer are, to me, solid. So I don't know how many episodes she writes, and I don't know how many episodes he directed. I didn't look that information up. So we've got that going for us. Yeah, let's stay as spoiler free as possible. So the first thing is, of course, you know me. If you know my channel, man, you know that I love my character actors, and Colin Farrell is good, but thank God they didn't make everybody boring around him either. He's working with some high-class talent, in my opinion, character actor-wise. First, when you have Clancy Brown is character actor royalty, in my opinion. Who's playing Salvatore Maroni in this? I don't think we've met Mark Strong. He's going to be Carmine Falcone. But we've got Michael Kelly, who I first got into with House of Cards, and no matter how you might feel about the people on that show, person-wise, Michael Kelly on that show was such a standout that I'm so glad that he's been getting more and more work, because I remember him when he was first in Dawn of the Dead, and that was a long-ass time ago, and this guy has really gone places since. I mean, look, that was a James Gunn script from a Zack Snyder, one of Zack Snyder's only good movies, so sorry, Zack Snyder fans, that's just my opinion. But Dexter alum, Carmen Aojo is in this. Theo Rossi, who, I mean, I'm not the biggest Sons of Anarchy fan, but I really like him. Deirdre O'Connell, veteran actress who's been in a ton of stuff. Okay, I can't forget this because everything always, again, if you know my channel, everything goes back to the X-Files. Francois Chow, who was on Lost. Oh, God. Am I wrong? I might be wrong that Francois Chow might not have been on the X-Files. I jumped the gun on that one. But I know that he was on Lost. And I know that all of you who feel betrayed by Lost, I'm sorry, but don't take it out on the actors' performances if you hate that show. They didn't do anything wrong. They didn't write the show. They just were in it. And I'm sure some of them were like, what the fuck is happening? And I purposely saved, Renzi Feliz, he's a newcomer. I really like him in this. Michael Zegan, I don't know, okay, look, I don't know if it's the actor or the parts he picks or gets cast in or both, but I have had, every time he's in something, I want his character to die within 5 seconds of meeting him. And thankfully, most of the time, I get my wish. He's been dying in shows that I like since The Walking Dead, Rescue Me. In fact, Rescue Me, I think, was where I first saw him. And I was so happy when he died on that show. Spoiler alert. But, out of everybody that I've mentioned, outside of Colin Farrell and how everybody else is good, great, grand, the person who I am so happy with in this show, and I want to make sure, because there's two people, her name is similar to another actress's, and it's Kristen Milioti, right? Yeah, Kristen Milioti. And if I'm still saying that wrong, I'm sorry. She doesn't care about me. She's not going to see this. But the mother from How I Met Your Mother has been in a lot of stuff. And she's paid her dues if you've seen her acting career. And she's been in some interesting stuff. But I think the one that she was on HBO with Billy Magnussen, can't remember what, Built for Love or Made for Love, I can't remember what it is. But she was pretty decent in that. But I still feel like she was just the girl who's got a, I don't know, always with relationships and things like that. But here as Sophia Falcone, Kristen, I'm going to have a hard time always saying her name. Yeah, let's just say it, Kristen. Yeah, it's not that hard. She is giving 1,000,000,000% as Sophia Falcone, who's just out of Arkham and's got some problems, and she's looking for her brother. And I've I've been wanting her to get a role that is just who is a fully fleshed out character who you just feel is alive and has been alive, and like she just shows up and takes over the scenes she's in. The intensity of her performances is insane. The eyeballs, I'm sure, have been talked about. Um, we always talk about the weirdest stuff when we talk about like on The Boys with whatever dude's doing with his mouth. Well, now we're talking about what Kristen's doing with her eyes. It is amazing. Um, and so as far as all that goes, the acting wise, like this is acted well across the board. This is directed well across the board, written well as well, because this could just be another throwaway mobster movie. Insert your IP characters here and then just let it go. But because Colin Farrell's Penguin is such a psychopath and in the most like he's explosive, but that's how the Penguin always was to me. Was he was the guy who was trying to be a businessman. Whatever business he's in, whether it's drugs or legitimate stuff, he always tries to present himself in a certain way, unless he has to be hard, and then the hard comes out. And you see how dark this guy is. He's like, it's a veneer, because he looks like a monster, but he's trying not to act like one. And it's all these kind of conflicting things inside this character that I've always really wanted to see, which is why when I see Batman Returns, I love that movie. But even when I was a kid, I started to see the Batman stuff and reading the comics, I was like, man, this is just such a broad difference from what I want or expect that I kind of rejected it at first. It was my least favorite part of Batman Returns. So now we have the best part of the Batman getting his own show and carrying it like crazy. And it's, again, like I said, thank goodness he has such a great supporting cast to play off of. Because if these all were boring just not boring, but if these were just, let's say everybody's an up-and-comer or somebody who hasn't been around for a million years or whatever, that's nice too. But to me, what I want is strong people that have been doing it for a while that I want to see get a chance, especially with character actors, get a chance to shine on this. My goodness, I realize I've been talking about this for a long time, and I told my friend that I was going to keep it brief. But I've already been going on for 23 minutes. Okay, but see, this is what was going on. Evie, you said I didn't have any passion left for it, and I did take. I was like, come on, man, passion. I got some passion. I just don't have all the time for all that passion anymore. So to get into it proper, okay, so we start right off the bat with this is a big spoiler, right? Right after the Batman ends, basically, kind of, maybe a day. It's been a week, I think. And Penguin's trying to get what's his, trying to, before everybody gets in, he's there to get his. And when he runs into Falcone's, the new heir, the son, getting, promoted to Kingpin, as soon as I realized, or I saw the actor playing him, I was like, is that? And I did, and it was. I was like, oh my God, please tell me that this guy's not going to last any longer than this scene. And I was thankfully given that gift. But it was how we got to that end that I really liked. What started out to me as feeling like just another mobster trying to rise in the ranks story became a much more guy constantly. The more he talked and the more he was doing in this, the more I was like, this is the Penguin. Oh my God, this is the Penguin. This is the Penguin I've always wanted to see, which was just that guy, like I said, who is trying to be a businessman and will say, he can talk his way out of things. Even though they all want to do something, They don't. They can't, because all of a sudden he's got leverage that you didn't know about. But in this scene, it flips it on
We are
you.
fortunate to have found a
And when
companion
you realize that even though this dopehead, this junkie
who
addict,
could ever replace you.
is fried out of his mind, he is not so fried as to not see through this
If you
dude.
do not approve, you
And
can leave.
in an intense scene of like that just builds up to what happens,
I thought so.
it's one of the, it's like, so you know it's coming, but you don't know how or when. And there was a brief moment where I was like, maybe they're not gonna, oh yeah, they're gonna. But I just felt like it was just a perfect way to show a whole bunch of different sides to Oswald's personality in one scene. About what this guy is, what he's capable of, and just watching him think on the fly is amazing. And he never stops being this kind of like, and I guess people were probably going to compare him to Tony Soprano, but I think he's a completely different thing, because
Our orders do not matter.
I think Tony Soprano is
We make our own destiny
more
now.
selfish and less compassionate, because when you have the kid who joins up, you know that like, even though there's this like air of like, yeah, I could kill this kid whenever I want, it's the stutter that the kid has, the fellow outcast. He has no one in this moment to help him. And even though this is a trapped person, a kind of a hostage, right? It's strong-armed service. It's this or death. Yet the kid, even in this world, realizes that like,
We will leave
even in this shitty situation, I feel like
not until we've dealt
I'm
with it.
better off than I was.
We are fortunate
And I might
to have
actually
found a
be
companion.
better if I just go along with this, because he's a victim of the attacks from the movie, and he has nothing. He might have no family either.
You can leave.
And again, it's great when the actor is, you know, I love when you see newcomers just knock it out of the park in their like one of their first go rounds. And this kid being in this like spot, he's,
We make our own
it could be
destiny
corny,
now.
it could just be bad in itself, but it's not. And just him trying to figure a way to get out of the consequences of the actions from the night before. The whole episode. And how over the course of this little bit of time, him and this kid developed this kind of bond
We will leave
that's
soon
believable.
No.
And I can't believe I'm saying that, because they set up the situation perfectly so it would be, you know, that's good writing. Because it's like, yeah, it's kind of like seeing how the right-hand man gets found. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, where does a right-hand man for a villain come from? And then you throw in, like, forget the other mobsters who were just there to, like, you know, we're the business side of things and we're just gonna take away. No, we need the real villain, which is then Sophia Falcone, who just comes in and is like, sees right through him. They have their great, like, I would call it like the Pacino, I'm saying it, like the Pacino De Niro scene from Heat, where they go out to lunch and it is about all kinds of shit. And the head games that they're playing back and forth with each other throughout, which culminates with the great ending to where she's a force. He can't just, you know, like, it's two equal things, and we haven't even gotten into, like,
We are fortunate
how they
to
got
have found
involved in, like, all this. Because I'm trying to be vague. I'm trying to give you people enough of what, you know, picking up what I'm laying down, okay, without spoiling it for everybody. But then, because, you know, it's the Penguin show, like, how he gets out of it, again, felt like something set up already, you know, like because of the bond that he's made with this kid, that, and knowing that we're going to have this kind of back and forth with interesting mobster characters, somebody that I haven't really, we've seen all the kinds of mobsters before, but because we're really getting a pretty, I'm saying it, comic accurate version of the Penguin. He might not be, like, you might be in love with just this era's Penguin or this era's Penguin, but for me, I've always seen him as that guy who's trying to hold the monster in. He's been treated like shit his whole life. He wants what's his. He's got a bad temper. He's a psychopath. He is a psych, and that's another thing, is like when we talk about Batman villains and how all of them are like mentally ill and are suffering, you know, at the same time. This is part of that, you know, with the relationship he has with his mother in this, which is, again, another great actress, another good person to play off of. So I think that's all I've got to say about this. I hope that I've at least proved to want. See, this is what I do for my subscribers. Subscribe to the channel. No, no, but like I did. I kind of did this to like go, you know what? This is for you, EB. You asked for it. I said no. I did it anyway. So if you liked what I had to say, like, subscribe, leave a comment, whatnot. Again, like what you like. If you like some of the things that I didn't like, what do I know? It's just my stupid opinion. Otherwise, yeah. I'll see ya. I'm going to play some Baldur's Gate 3 here in a second, and you'll probably be seeing that before you even see this. So, bye. Oops.